Hey Collective, it's Brandon. I got another daily Devo for you here today from our Calvary reading plan that you can download and follow along with at calvary.ch/read. Today's Devo comes from 2 Corinthians chapter 12. If you were with us yesterday, you know that this is a letter from Paul to the Corinthian church, and he is kind of writing to help them navigate their faith, clear up some confusion in some areas, and encourage them to love one another and show Jesus to the world around him. And in chapter 12, Paul's kind of talking about some struggles that he has that he calls thorn in the flesh. There's been many theories throughout the years as to what Paul was referring to when he talked about this thorn in the flesh, but ultimately no one knows exactly what that was. But it was some struggle that Paul was dealing with that he continually prayed that God would remove from him, but God chose not to do that. And here's what it says in verse 9, as Paul's kind of talking about how he feels like tortured by this thing, and he says he pleaded 3 times with the Lord to take it away from him, and he records the Lord's response in verse 9. It says this: "But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." And then Paul responds by saying, "Therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me." So guys, we see the Apostle Paul here, one of the leading contributor to the New Testament, planter of so many churches, missionary to much of the known world at the time, saying that he doesn't have it all figured out. He's saying that he doesn't have everything that he needs in his humanity to accomplish what he wants to accomplish. And yet Jesus says to him that that's exactly where he wants him. Jesus says, "You know what, Paul, my grace is sufficient for you." You know what, Paul, like when you're weak, people see my strength. And so today I want to encourage you guys, like we all face hardships. And I bet none of us have faced, or most of us haven't faced hardships near the level of the Apostle Paul. That man was shipwrecked. He was in prison multiple times. People tried to murder him. The guy went through some things. And we all go through some things, and we all feel like we're stuck sometimes, or trapped, or we don't have what we need to get the job done, or we don't have the skills necessary to do the things that God has called us to do. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, so if you didn't see that one, jump back and check it out. But what we do have is access to grace and power through Jesus. And Jesus assures us, just like he assures Paul, that his grace is sufficient for us. The grace that he provides covers all the needs that we could ever have. And so I want to encourage you today, Collective, as we walk through the rest of this book, and Paul gets ready to wrap this thing up, and that'll be our Devo for tomorrow. But man, I hope you've learned something from this, and I hope you continue to learn from the daily Devos, and be encouraged by the fact that we have everything that we need because Jesus gives us access to that, because he makes it so. And so when you feel weak, man, celebrate the fact that Jesus is strong, and we'll get a chance to demonstrate that strength through you. All right, we'll see you next time.